Welcome to Rooted Within with Lili and Dan, a podcast that shines a spotlight on positive change makers, sharing their stories of legacy, inspiration, and impact.
Well, normally I'd have Dan here to sort of handball to, but I don't today. He's stuck on his way back from Abu Dhabi. But in the studio today, I have the lovely Katie Pattison-Hart.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank
and you've
you.
come from the other side. So you just
Yes.
arrived from Ras Al Khaimah. How was the
yes.
traffic?
Actually fine. Friday afternoons are good
Really?
these days. Yeah, in this direction.
In this direction.
And I think going home,
It's
it'll
gonna be
fine.
fun.
No,
Oh.
sorry, I just hit the microphone.
It's going to be totally fine. Well, welcome to the studio. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to jump straight into my first question. So I read your bio,
Okay.
and the first thing that jumped out at me was that you rowed with 4 other women
That's right.
across which ocean?
The Atlantic Ocean.
Okay. I know.
I know it's not normal. It's not the normal thing to do.
I'm just going to jump straight to that because I really want to know, how does that happen?
Okay, that is a very good question. The how. Okay, so shall I start from the beginning?
Yes, please.
So my background is banking.
Okay.
I studied financial economics. I went on to work.
Would never have picked that.
No. I honestly, though, messed up all my A-levels. Like, I was too busy going out and enjoying myself and experimenting. I'm sure everybody can relate in some way or other. It didn't treat me kindly, though. I ended up having to do a HND in
What's an
university.
HND?
It's one step below the degree,
Okay.
just to get entrance into university.
Oh, right, okay.
So I chose business management because it was a very wide spectrum. And I seemed to do particularly well in the financial economics modules. My tutor at the time was like, I think you should focus your efforts on this because you're a natural. I was like, oh, at last, something positive has come out of this. So
I'm gonna hold that thought for a second because from the corner of my eye,
I made it.
I've just seen Dan who just made it back from Abu Dhabi.
I got stuck in traffic. Literally stuck in traffic. So I'm going to do this differently today.
So I struggled to start without you, but managed to. But
Yeah.
what I
well
and
done
I
for
jumped.
getting here.
And I think I've got quite a lot. I've got a lot of fines going on right now.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
So we
it's been
jumped straight
ages.
into wanting to understand how Katie decided to row across the Atlantic.
So this was one of the key things that I wanted to talk about. So
I
sorry.
jumped straight
glad.
into it.
Have we talked
You
about
haven't missed it.
No.
You haven't missed
Oh,
it.
good.
So first we're understanding she went into economics. We're at economics.
In a really boring phase
Because
of life.
You've had such a very career, because when I met you, like you were like hostessing for us.
And this is the whole thing. Like, I'm really glad that we started from the beginning because this is pre-Dan.
Yeah.
So Dan doesn't even know this bit. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
like where it all started for me moving to Dubai. So, yeah, I was just saying that I entered university on a HND because I screwed up all my A-levels
Yeah.
and they wouldn't let me in any other way.
I think I did exactly the same in school.
Did you? Were you too busy enjoying yourself as well
I
and
just-
experimenting?
I just forgot to turn up to them because I was working the night before, and I woke up with like, I think I've got something to do today.
Did I have something to
Shit,
do
my
today?
geography A level, I completely missed it.
whoops.
Yeah. This is very relatable. Yeah. And that's
Cool.
pretty much what happened to me. And my parents obviously were very disappointed. And they're like, well, you need to go to university. How on earth
Yeah.
are you going to get in?
Yeah.
Lock yourself in that kitchen, get on the phone. There's the newspaper, start
Get on
calling
it.
through it. And so that was your first little lesson of consequences. And I managed to get into university on a business management HND, and I was just explaining that the teacher there was actually, Katie, you're really good at financial economics module. You're doing it naturally. I can see you're putting no effort in, but you're getting the good grades. I was like, oh, thank God I'm actually good at something. And she said, I think you should top it up into a degree. So that's what happened. I did
What
2
a
years.
great teacher.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful, because you get so lost at
Yeah.
that stage in life, I think, and especially if you haven't done well
Yeah.
in said chosen maths, biology and English
Yeah.
A-levels. I was good at them, but I just didn't
Yeah.
focus any effort to them.
Yeah.
I didn't think I needed to try because the GCSEs came so easily.
Yeah.
And the A-levels are just so hard, aren't they, in
completely
comparison? I was busy enjoying myself. So,
Fair,
yeah. I mean,
fair.
but it did teach me that you can't just give half-hearted attempts to getting things done and
Yeah.
expecting decent results. So, went on to do my financial economics degree. So it took an extra 2 years. Did well.
Yay.
and got a job with a big international bank on a graduate trainee program and started climbing the corporate ladder, and I was a senior manager within about 3-4 years of the bank. So that was an amazing achievement.
That's a fast move.
I think it was the fear. It was like, I don't ever want to go through what I've just been through of not being able to follow a path that I wanted to follow because I screwed up, and luckily I was given a second chance. But yeah, the fear, I think it just pushed me to the point where I was like, right, I'm committed to this now. This is what we're doing, and this is the route I'm taking. That was all wonderful. Dubai, I got a little opportunity to come over here. So after spending, I think it was probably a good 3-4 years in Sheffield and then in London, moved out to Dubai.
But how did that happen?
Right, so the graduate trainee program was like a mini university. So you were just they'd selected about 20 people. That was it. So there was about 200 of us in the selection process, and they whittled it down. They did this 24-hour, it was an assessment. They had assessors standing in the 4 corners of the room. It was hardcore. You slept over all together in this hotel. They gave you free-flowing alcohol to see how you were interacting with people.
Oh, wow.
It was a full-on psychological assessment.
It was psychological.
They were very interested in your emotional intelligence, very interested in how you work together as a team, in your leadership capacity, how you dealt with maybe some kind of conflict that was going on in a team environment. It was eye-opening, and I was young. I was 21, so I'd never been exposed to anything like that, really. So I was like, what is going on here? Anyway, we got down to the last 20. We all got employed by said bank, and we were all scattered in different parts of the world.
I'd say that bank does that.
It's crazy.
Pushing that environment.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But it's very, very forward-thinking.
Very forward-thinking, right?
Smart.
Very.
Because then you really see like true people, like you push the limits and you just
But
like
you
play
create
with them.
strong teams.
But they also don't tell you what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So they're putting you under pressure to the point where you're squeezed to be your true self.
Yeah.
And you have to show up and you have to show
Yeah.
it, because they're forcing you to have a voice on a big conference table, and you've never been in a board meeting before. You
Yeah.
just stepped out uni.
Yeah.
You don't know what goes on around that and who's leading it, because we're all in the
Yeah.
same boat here, literally. So it was a fascinating process to go through, and I had no idea what they were looking for. So I was like, have I even got in through this process? No idea, clueless.
You did.
And I did.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was amazing. And that was like kind of just having that dedication to something and knowing that I could do it. And that belief came back in my own capabilities. And it was a reminder to focus my efforts on what I wanted and not take any little diversions or get distracted. So the people that were all dispersed, these 20 wonderful graduate trainee people I made friends with, some were placed in Dubai. We were like this because we were on all these training courses together. So, and we were like nervous. It was like big deal this. It was like big company and stuff. And I think most of the members of staff within the organisation were probably late 40s, 50s. So, you know, they brought this young blood in and it was ruffling feathers a little bit. So you were conscious that you were not really that welcome because they'd brought you in to do different things.
Yeah.
So we stuck together, and even though we had different people in different parts of the world, we stayed in touch with each other. A couple of the guys were based in Dubai. That was their placement. I'd opted for a UK-based program. I was actually working for the bank on a trainee, what was it? Temping job over the summer. So I was already inside this bank doing cups of tea and filing. So again, there was resentment around, because I was in a team then, placed in a different position, and I was the tea girl, you know. It was
interesting times.
Very, but I think humbling,
Yeah.
you know, and all these little experiences that you have along the way, very, very humbling. And I think, you know, you soon learn that no ego is, it's hard at times, but at the same time, it's probably the best route to take. You show your true colours, you show who you are, and you work hard. So, when I was doing this temping contract and then I got into this job role, and my manager was like, right, you've got choices now. You can either stay in my team here or you can go and follow the programme. He said, but if you stay with me, I'll create a programme that allows you to tick all the boxes that you would normally tick on this programme. But we'll tailor it to exactly what you want to do. So he wanted to keep me. And I was like, okay, this is great, because I've got used to him and he's got used to me, and we've already had a few months together. So this is kind of how it all started. the trip to Dubai was because I had friends here that were on the trainee programme.
Oh, brilliant.
And it opened my mind to, I remember going on Sheikh Zayed Road back in 2005.
I was like, what is this place?
Yeah. We were up
Like
high in
80
a massive
lanes of
building in
traffic.
a restaurant. And I was like, whoa, all these lights. It was just like, wow, amazing. And I was like, this place is so unique.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of it. And I just remember thinking, this is an incredible place to be. I didn't get it though. I was like, what is this place all about? Like I couldn't get the feeling for it.
And that was what, 2005?
2005.
So that's kind of like when it's like starting to really...
It was still trying to figure itself out then
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, sure. And I was trying to figure myself out. I was 25. So it was like, okay, I'd had like, a few years in the UK doing my work. But I think that inquisitive nature in me was there as a result of my parents bringing me up in Brunei. Parents were military, so we were based over there.
Wow.
And I just think that even though I was...
An interesting place to grow up.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Tropical. And running around like as a kid, just naked most of the time in tropical
jungles.
storms, in jungles, correct. Treading on scorpions, apparently. I was like, really? But yes, I blame the parents for that inquisitive
For the
nature.
curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you decided to stay in Dubai. What happened? Like when you did that first trip, what, like...
So the CEO of I don't know if I'm allowed to say the
Oh, you
word.
could
Say
say
whatever you
anything
want.
you
But
like.
Lloyds Bank,
Yeah.
they actually got bought out by HSBC
Yeah.
now, so they're on Al Wasl Road opposite Safa Park.
Yep.
That was pretty much my second house. The CEO was travelling to London at the time and he ran some interviews. I'd met him briefly at a social thing when I came out to Dubai and they were like, that's the CEO. And they were like, if you want a
You're
job,
like, hi.
that's who you need to
Yeah.
say hi to.
You got to make friends.
But at the time, it wasn't really a priority. I didn't really think it was practical. I didn't think, I want to finish what I've started in the UK. And I got back, I spoke to my boss and I was like, look, there's this opening in Dubai. And I mean, it's advertised like across the whole world is, all the jobs are on the system. So I couldn't help but go in and look. And I was like, oh, that's what they were all talking about. This is the one in Dubai that they were talking about. I said to my boss, look, I know I've only been here because this was my new position down in London and it was a proper job. I'd come off the graduate trainee programme. I'd come off at a band that was higher than I expected and they'd really treated me well because they
You're like, I'm about to tell them I want to go.
Yeah, right. I know. I was like, how's this going to say? Is this even an option? Am I shooting myself in the foot here? Because maybe he's going to be like, you're not going and now you're stuck with me and deal with consequences.
Yeah, of course. And wasn't.
And he wasn't, was he?
He was like, really, like, you're going to be a loss. We've loved having you here, but I'm not going to block you from applying and let's just see what happens. So again, very, very supportive.
You've had some
very
great
lucky.
mentors and supporters along the way, haven't you?
Yeah, really lucky with that.
Very.
And I think that's one thing when we get to the row, one thing that I would say, getting people on board, like, everybody creates their own team in a work environment, but I think creating your own team externally where you share similar visions and values and you can connect in a way that just helps everybody succeed because you're all pulling in the same direction. I felt like that was always happening, even from a young age. When I look back at it now, I didn't get it then.
There's so many puns in this, pulling in the right direction. We're going to get there. I'm so excited about that bit.
I could rely on you.
I'm so excited about that bit. I remember when you actually went to do that, I was like, you crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that thought that, And
I've got so many questions. Anyway.
I know. I feel like this podcast could be split over like seasons.
Different episodes, seasons of life. Fast forward a bit. So you're in Dubai, you get the job.
Yeah. So he actually came
relocating.
over to do the interviews and he said, you're too junior for the job that I'm looking for. You haven't got the work experience. But I like you. I'm creating a job for you. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But he was very forward thinking, very open-minded and could see potential. He was very switched on with emotional intelligence as well. And he actually was the one that said to me later on when I was in Dubai, you've got high emotional intelligence. I was like, what the hell is that? You know, I was so young and naive to everything. I just had no idea about anything. And he sent me off to read about stuff, and I was like, okay, I can relate to that a little bit. Yeah, I guess. Okay, cool. He's observant and he's a good guy. If he can see that in me, that, fills me with confidence. So anyway, this was starting work in Dubai. Are you comfortable there? Should we get you a chair?
Yeah.
We need a chair.
Yeah. Like, are you even on a cushion?
Granddad's knees are about to give in. I think I was being very clever.
Do you want to take this one?
This is probably the most random interruption.
It is the most random
ever.
podcast we've had so far.
Is it? This is always good.
It's all fine. It makes it interesting. There you go. Yes, done.
Can you? Can you imagine what our our listeners at home
Of course, but I think we
are
should keep
listening
this
to this?
in.
Oh no, it's got to stay
It's
in.
all staying in.
It's got to stay in. We're raw. We're real.
Yeah.
We're real. We adapt.
As we take a little hiatus.
Dan just came off his knees.
Wow. Can we please talk about your voice?
I know it's gone.
Completely gone.
Completely gone.
We're
That's
like-
the thing. That's why I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this on my
We
own.
need a conversation off.
Do you not
Right.
normally have this beautiful husky voice?
No. I have
It
a
sounds
bit more of a
great.
voice. It does.
I think I like it.
0055.
Oh, wow.
How can I help you?
I feel like you're a radio presenter.
Can you
I
please
really
do me a
do.
favour? This is going very pear-shaped very quickly. Can you say, hold the line caller?
Hold the line caller.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Right, okay.
We'll be right back.
We've had the interruption. Now we will be right back to Katie.
We'll be right back to Kate. Now
I've
back
missed
to
you
our
guys.
normal
Missed
viewing.
you.
Like, literally, I've been having I'm going to just say a shit time lately, and this has just been like the most amazing
This is
introduction.
brilliant.
Oh no, what's been happening?
Oh,
I
there's
know, we're
drama,
back
but,
to
yeah,
you,
It's
back
back
to
to you. There's
you.
like a whole drama going on, but we'll talk about that off the air.
Right. So, where were we? You're out to Dubai, jobs created for you. I want to know how that leads to you rowing across the Atlantic.
Yes.
Right, okay. So job went really well here
Yeah.
and did focus all my efforts, and I climbed the corporate ladder and I was in charge of a team of people, and it was a wonderful experience, and I really feel like it's at my core, all the training that I had, the professionalism, customer service, the teamwork, the leadership. It was just a wonderful, wonderful team environment for such a young age to go through like something that was such a clear process. It was regimented and I could be disciplined and whatever I put in, I got back out, and it was wonderful. Got to a stage where I was like, do you know what? I wonder if I put this much effort into something personal, what I could achieve.
Yeah.
And also, who on earth am I without this fancy job title and these materialistic things that I'm able to buy
True.
as a result of
Yeah.
Very
that
true.
financial reward that
Yeah.
I'm getting? Always sat at the back of my head. It was like, I've let that define me for so long and I've been so driven with my career, but is there anything else? There must be more to life than
But also one day
just
that'll be
this.
gone.
Yeah.
Because you're
and-
not
but-
going to work for it. Well, unless you want to. But
Yeah.
normally
Yeah.
it's not
And
something
also
you
can be
want to do
taken away
forever.
from you.
Exactly.
So many things
On
can
any
happen.
given
Like,
day.
it's never certain.
And this is exactly what happened. So I made the leap of faith to leave this company. I went because I said I need some headspace. Like
Yep.
if I'm stuck, if I'm in this every single day, the level of commitment I've got in there, my head's busy all the time. I can't switch off. I need to close the noise. So I made the decision to leave. Everybody thought I was crazy because they were like, "You've got such a strong career here. Been with the bank forever now. Like it's been 8
be
years.
silly. You're going
You've
to
got like
regret it,
even
blah,
a
blah, blah.
pension still going
Yeah.
on back home. Like the disposable income that you've got
Yeah.
could set you up in a way.
You get to a certain point in life when you've been with the business for a while that you can kind of coast a little bit. You can go a little bit under the radar.
Super comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, there was challenging moments, mostly to do with management because I was so young. I was still trying to figure out people,
Yeah.
and I find people
Still
fascinating.
trying to work on that one.
Yeah, me too. Every day.
42 years old and not figured it out. But anyway,
Exactly right.
that's my own podcast coming up.
Yeah, it is. It's a subject in itself, right?
So you quit?
I quit.
What was the first thing you did?
Actually, went with the CEO who'd moved companies. And, well, first of all, I went with a local company. I was like, I'm working in the Middle East, but I'm working for a British company.
Yeah.
Like, open your mind a little. Let's, like, just go and work with something local. It didn't work out, unfortunately. The person that had been recruited to run the show. Do you remember, like, the Ivy and the Rivington Grill and all of these? Yes, I went to work for Tatweer.
I can't remember if I ever knew that.
Wow.
Yeah, no, this is what I mean. This was pre-Dan.
Yeah.
Like, I feel
Really
like...
got to that bit yet.
I know, right? I'm sorry.
you-
But this guy, he was a multimillionaire from London, and he had a certain way of working. It just didn't fit with the culture here
Fair.
locally. I still went to work for that company, but I was supposed to be his right hand, and the lady in HR was like, "Oh,
my
you've
God,
turned up."
The Ivy used to be at the IFC.
Yeah.
Emirates Towers.
Emirates Towers, sorry.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
It was like
Yeah.
an institution.
Yeah. Wow. With the wood. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So I went to work for Tatweer, and
That didn't last very long.
it didn't. So I'm sat there. The HR lady's gone, "Can you go back to your old company?" That's like how bad it was. And I was like, wow, I've left this career of 8 years, and she's asking me if I could return back to my existing company. She was like, "We just don't see where you're going to fit in the equation now." And I'm like,
Awesome.
I was like, I'm definitely not going back. That's not an option. I'm not even opening that conversation. We're
Yeah.
moving forwards, and if this
Yeah.
isn't meant to be, we will find something else. Kept my head low for a little bit. I was studying another degree at the time in financial services. I was like, let's finish that off. Let's get that done and dusted. So I did. Started investing in real estate. Bought a floor of apartments with friends in Abu Dhabi, bought a villa in the Springs here, and a little studio in Ras Al Khaimah. Very overexposed. The crisis hit. Oh. Yeah, it was fun and games. So they could have possibly been really good investments because working at the bank, I'd seen a lot of positive.
And this is the crisis, 2008?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a very, very tight time for me because I then went to go and work with the old CEO at Lloyds Bank who had shifted to Gulf Finance. He called me up. He was like, hey, I'm setting this up. I need some help with this situation. We need somebody that has this knowledge. You're the only person I can think of. What are you doing now? And I was like, do you know what? This works perfectly. I need to get out of where I am and into this job. Did it for about 8 months. I was doing the asset financing for hospitals. So if you're a doctor and you're wanting to set up, say, some x-ray machines, maybe you need the financing. We were taking a charge over that asset, so a bit like a house mortgage, and we were rolling this out, and it was new to the market. They weren't really doing that at this time then. The problem was they were building loads of new hospitals. There was all this pipeline of business of, yes, I need to do this financing, and that was all my job was, and it was sales orientated. So after about 6 months, we could see nothing was coming together. Like the hospitals weren't being built, the business wasn't being drawn down.
The crisis or the after?
It was just before the crisis, and I just feel like this lag time of building a hospital, I don't think any of us knew at what point these assets were going to be needed. So my pipeline of business was just sitting there. I was pushing everybody like, what's going on? Are you ready to go? And just no, not ready, not ready, not ready. It was just in the air. I lost my job. Oh. And this was around about the time of the crisis. Yeah.
So like what? No,
so
them.
The job and then also your investments.
It was huge. It was massive.
Did you lose the investments?
I was very overexposed. You want some water?
Oh God. I came well unprepared for this. I'm just completely.
I'm so proud of you for running in from Abu Dhabi like this.
So the Abu Dhabi police for the speeding fines.
Stop. Do you think you have?
We'll figure it out tomorrow. Anyway, carry on.
Oh gosh.
So investments.
Yeah. So that was like a massive learning curve for me because I'd gone from having a lot of surplus income and playing with it basically. That was what was happening, and a secure job. So now not having a job, still having the expenses of a huge salary, but without the salary coming in anymore. And it was like, okay. And there were a few friends that didn't understand the concept. Maybe they came from a more privileged background, and they were just like, well, why spend so much in the first place? It was like,
you don't really have a choice. Like,
well, when you live here and you're experimenting, you will take you'll
take risks.
You'll take a rental or buy a house, and that mortgage, maybe 30% of your salary would be reasonable to dedicate towards that. But when you lose your salary, then
you don't really have in other areas of the world, the job market is a little bit more stable.
It's different here, isn't it?
Yeah, here it can be like anything can happen. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And this was the massive learning that I took away from it, because there were certain projects like this floor of apartments that we bought in Abu Dhabi. I bought it with 4 other friends. They were all in different parts of the world. Someone was kite surfing somewhere, and it was a stage build. And I was like, right, guys, the next instalment of 1 million dirhams is due. We were planning to draw that down and pay it, and I was like, this isn't an option anymore. And they were like, no, not for us either. Like everybody was like withdrawing from everything. So I said, what we're going to do? And they were like, well, maybe we need to just get rid of that. And I was like, we certainly do, yeah. And I remember driving down to Abu Dhabi to Hydra Properties. I vomited on the side of the road because I was that nervous. You know, you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm holding myself together so much, but actually there is so much turmoil going on. It was the uncertainty. Anyway, I got there, and this guy was really nice, managed to get in touch with the highest point of CEO guy. Still in touch with him now, actually. He's a wonderful human being. And I actually said to him, you know, look, we can't pay the next instalment, and this is the situation. We've paid 1 million already, but we can't make the next one. It's not going to happen. What can we do? And I don't want legal action because that next instalment's going to be drawn down. And he was just like, well, you could put it into something that's already finished, and then you won't have any more instalments. So he transferred that across to something else. And then they were doing these horrible letters of credit things where there was a queue of people buying things for 60% of the value, and they were taking things off people's hands because it was an opportunity for them. And we were like, I was like, really, the guy, should we get out? And they were like, just do it, just get what you can out of this. So it was a really I grew so much as a person during this phase. And you do, absolutely. And I relate and can connect more with people that have had some form of hardship, because I think, we can go and source out a challenge, right? Or we can be hit by one.
No choice.
Exactly.
Here,
right?
have a challenge.
Deal with it. Find a solution.
Yeah. How are you going to manage that one?
I'll come back in a couple of months. Hi.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see you come out the other side, because you will come out the other side.
You always do.
You always
Just
do,
a little bit
but
battered.
Absolutely. But the strength of character that comes with it.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
100%. Yeah. So that was just one little snippet. It went on for a good 5-7 years, and that was the other thing. There was a lot of patience required.
Yeah.
So
sorry, because I'm going to link this into something in the future, but like a lot of determination. Like there's a situation that you're in, not your choosing. You just got to grit your teeth and go with it.
Yeah, and I think, some of the people that were close to me at that time, they were like, how do you wake up in the morning with a big smile on your face? Like, how are you functioning?
What else are you supposed to do?
And that's the whole thing. It's like, you can't determine what's being thrown at you. Like, that could have gone really well. Like my family, my sisters back in the UK, they're like, that could have been amazing investments. You could have turned that into something else. You've seen it all happen. It was something that the market just shifted, didn't it, massively? And people who were exposed were left really exposed. And I learned a lot from that. I was still so young.
But it says a lot about mindset.
Yeah, it does.
And how it can
100%.
really not control, but it can really affect your experience.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. I mean, it either dictates your day and turns into your narrative. Not for me. No, I'm dealing with it in the background, but let's make some money.
Yep.
Let's go to Dan at Bareface and see what hourly rate I can do on a promotion level, on events. Let's just go out there and start earning some money. And that was my attitude. And that's when I met you.
Because I used to book you on events as a hostess and all sorts for so many different things.
In fact, as I was driving here, I'm thinking about how you were teaching me to walk stilts.
Oh my God, yeah, I did
next
at one
to the
point.
swimming pool in the marina. There was marina apartments. There was swimming pool, and you put me on in stilts and said you could get some really good jobs out of this, Katie. And I think I did
that to many people. It's like, go walk, my friend, walk.
You're like, what do I need?
What can I get out of this one?
I think you're all right though. Did you do it?
I did it.
Yeah.
I'm a gymnast by trade, so I'm
it.
tall one.
But why not? Was there nothing in finance?
Right. So this was another thing. I knew I wanted to do something else, but I needed to have clear headspace to think. And every time I just didn't want to go back into a corporate environment. Okay. I was like, if I do, how am I going to think about what else I want to do? I'm going to be stuck in this job again like I was. I made the most of it.
But it would have been, given the financial situation and needing to sort of recoup what you'd lost, going back into finance would have been...
But the finance industry at that time was decimated,
well, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
was it even an option?
There wasn't any jobs, but also at the same time, I felt like
it would be
I earned X amount of salary. Seeing these hourly rate jobs, I was coaching gymnastics. I was doing literally anything because I wanted clear headspace. I was like, once I finish that work, I don't want to think about it again, other than collect my money.
Yeah.
And then during this time, I'd just been to do some crazy Dubai One TV thing, and it was, I can't even explain what we were doing. We were modelling. It was like when you go in and they show the outfits from head to toe and they describe it all.
Yeah.
And I had a full face caked of makeup, which is so not me. And then my friend was like, we're having a barbecue down at the Palm, come and join us. So I'm in the car scrubbing this face off. I'm driving down there and I'm like, just go and be social. It's a good thing to do to escape from your reality right now. Met this lady there, and she was just like, what are you doing? And we had a chat. She was on holiday and she just said, we're rowing across the Atlantic and I think you'd be really good to be part of this team.
Just like you do, randomly at a barbecue in Dubai. Yeah. Come and jump in a boat and let's row.
And I was like, okay.
What made her want to do it?
Right. So she is massively, she was moved by the charitable initiative that was attached to it. It was against human trafficking.
That was it. I remember
it's an old slave route that we took. And she was very moved by some film documentary that she'd been watching, and she knew she wanted to do something.
And she was a rower?
No.
Was anybody?
Were you a rower?
No. We only had one rower in our team.
Please, for our listeners out there, when you say row, do you mean like actual rowing?
Yeah, exactly. So 2 hands on an oar each, and you are sat 3 girls on separate seats behind each other.
Proper rower.
Sliding up and down on a seat.
I was a rower. That's why I'm there going, you rowed across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have been doing it instead of me.
You don't understand.
It's
That's
crazy.
just fucking insane.
I've rowed across a lake, and it's very difficult.
But the Atlantic,
it's
got waves.
It's got sharks.
Yeah,
it's
but you've
got
got technique.
whales.
You
it's
had
got stuff.
technique for flat water rowing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not
but
flat
rowing
water.
is normally flat water.
But this
rowing.
is in the ocean.
But that's
with
what I'm saying.
But that
waves.
was the training involved, and that was the
But
crazy
why
thing.
row? Why not sail? Why not?
Okay, so there
Because
was.
rowing and Atlantic.
I mean, yeah, even people that have sailed the Atlantic have found
you
it
see-
incredibly
do you see what I mean?
challenging.
It's from here you go, my nautical knowledge.
Yes, please
Like
share.
it's a very volatile
Yeah.
piece of water.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
And
My dad
there's-
was in the Navy,
Oh, was he?
so yeah, he used to sail across the Atlantic all the time.
Oh, wow.
He was always caught in storms.
My mum was in
Yeah.
the Wrens as well.
No way.
Yeah.
There we go. We're bonding.
Okay. No. Okay, so he had big exposure on big
Yeah.
seas, and he knows the
It's
Atlantic.
rough.
Yeah, it's rough.
That's what it's like,
It's
rough.
It's rough.
But yeah, it is rough. It's really rough, and there are moments where I just remember storms, and you're exposed. You've got two cabins at either end of the boat, which I refer to them as like.
Before we get to this, like,
Yeah, sorry.
but first of all, like,
Let's backtrack a little if you have a question.
please, like, so you've had this barbecue.
Yeah, you're at
you've
the
been-
barbecue. Go back to the.
Then you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to row across the Atlantic. Like, what happened?
Okay, so we're all outside socialising, and Julia said, let's go inside so I can show you something online. So she went into the kitchen and pulled something up and started to show me some of the reasons why she was wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Just to test the pulse, I guess, to see
Yeah.
whether it, you know.
And were you in straight away? Were
Oh,
you
yes.
like,
But
I'm down?
what did she see in you that made her say, "What are you doing? I think you should come and do this."
I went through this process of, after I'd been through all this big exposure financially and loss of jobs, I felt like my ego was completely battered. You know, I
Okay.
felt very,
Fair.
very,
Fair.
you can understand
Very
that.
raw.
And very raw. And I just said to myself, this is your time to understand who you really are.
What
You've
better
been
way?
stripped of everything now. Let's just not mention any of those things because that's in your past now. That senior management in a bank, that lovely car that you were driving, all those things you thought defined you. Your challenge now, Katie, is not to mention those things to other people. It was so challenging because that is what
Yeah.
made
That was
me
your
who.
identity.
Yes, yeah. And I went through this phase of. So I actually didn't share too much with her. She just said that she knew there was more to me than met the eye, and she knew that I was into my sports. I'd run a marathon in between some of this as well. But I was not a sporty person.
Just like you do.
No, I wasn't a sporty person.
No.
At school, I did gymnastics and flexible things. I didn't
Yeah.
have any strength, didn't like running,
Yeah.
didn't like any activities in that sense.
Nothing
It was
But it
aerobics.
was to have
Swimming.
an achievement.
it was just like I liked moving, dancing, just
Yeah.
kind of like really girly girl stuff. But I was never very good at it because I was so tall.
Yeah.
Gymnasts are very petite,
Yeah.
aren't they? So yeah, all of kind of like the sporting stuff. The marathon was something that I did when I decided to stop smoking. I stopped drinking. And it was like, let's just have a month off
Yeah.
everything. All this newfound energy. It was like, what should we do now?
Yeah.
Started training for a marathon.
Talk about training for rowing. What was that like?
Wait.
Full-time
Job
job.
before that though. So she showed you all the stuff, and you
Yeah.
just said yes. Let's start tomorrow.
Yeah, I was in, but then I didn't know how serious she was.
Yeah, I get that.
And she was flying back to the UK. She didn't even live here. She was
Okay.
based in the UK. Messaged me the next day, and I went down to meet her, and we had just one-on-one coffee,
Yep.
and I shared everything about myself.
Yep.
And at that point, she was just like, "You're on
Yep.
this team," and I was just like, "Oh
Okay.
wow, really?"
That moved very quick.
Yeah, but I still didn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was in.
And then
I-
she flew off to the UK. So how's that going to work?
Well, that was the thing, and that was part of the test between the team then, because it was how committed are you?
Because we were all kind of all over the place.
There was somebody in America, someone in Northern Ireland, and then myself in Dubai, and then at the time we were 6, and there were 3 girls in the UK.
You were training in different countries.
Yes,
Okay.
you're a rower. You understand
You don't
this.
understand that doesn't.
No, because it's synchronized. Obviously, you need to row as
The
a team.
whole point of rowing
Yeah.
is that you are a team.
Yes.
100%.
And even your
Lily's
form.
getting very animated right now.
Yeah,
But even the form, like this is so complex.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're timing
The strokes.
the
and-
strokes,
yeah.
the movement, and also, whoever's stroke side front is the one that sort of keeps the rhythm.
Yeah.
So to be able to choose who that person is, you sort of have to have time to get.
yes,
Wait.
you need time together, 100%.
Okay, so
Okay, so
we're gonna be
now
here
to
forever.
Dan's question: how was the training?
Yeah, how was the training?
Full-time job?
Like literally, you're just sat in a rowing machine all the time.
No. We
Go
built up
run,
to
you
doing
gotta do weights.
2-hour sessions on the rowing machine
Yep.
because 2 hours was our shift system. We
Got
decided
you.
on 2 hours rowing, 2 hours sleeping, 2 hours rowing, 2 hours sleeping, all day, all night for the duration.
Which
What
we're going to
was
get
the
to. Oh,
duration?
you've asked it already.
Sorry.
45 days.
I'm leaving.
Imagine the sleep
But you get
deprivation.
it as well because, the sleep deprivation for real. Yeah,
the-
it was
just start to
psychological.
hallucinate.
Sharks.
You just have to not
Sharks.
think
We're gonna-
about these things.
Wait, I want to get
That
to these
oar
questions.
is going to do nothing.
I want to get
Yeah.
to these questions. So you do the training, so you build up to 2 hours. But I've got so many questions about butt soreness because I sit on
It's real.
I sit on a rowing machine
Not
for
just
5
that,
minutes
the
and it
lactic
hurts.
acid in your legs. Like, where do you go to stretch?
And that was challenging as well.
Okay, so
'cause-
we finish the training.
right,
Then you
okay.
get you get on a boat.
Well, the
When
training...
did you all come together?
So we had an 8 months planning and preparation phase before we
Okay, so
sailed.
that's fairly long, but obviously
Yeah.
being disjointed doesn't
But
help.
the full-time job is you've got to get 600,000 dirhams worth of sponsorship to even get the boat on the water. So when I
Wow.
announced this to my parents, I'm rowing across the Atlantic, they were like, they'll never raise enough money. We don't need to worry about this. They're not doing it. That was...
They definitely didn't know you.
Yeah.
They didn't know their own
You were
daughter.
like-
Like, Jesus.
Here we go.
What
Let's
the-
hustle.
As if.
And I stupidly turned up with the DVD of Ben Fogle and James Cracknell rowing across the Atlantic, which
Okay.
was an absolute disaster. And we learned so much from that that video. And I decided to take it to Portugal, where my parents live, and announce that I'm rowing across the Atlantic with this team of girls. Can we watch this together? Because this is going to be an introduction to what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there thinking, maybe I should have watched this alone before
Yeah.
I introduced it to them. But they weren't worried because they were like, there's no way you're going to get enough money together. There's
Still can't
absolutely
believe
no
they
way.
thought
It's just not going to be a possibility. So because I had the Dubai market to play with, that felt good because I wasn't treading on any toes of
Yeah.
the girls in some respects when it came to
Mm.
like approaching companies for sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt really comfortable doing those meetings because it was like,
It's for a charitable and a very good reason.
absolutely. And at the same time, it was...
And you were doing something mad.
I was in a corporation for
Yeah.
years, so
Yeah.
it felt comfortable sat across the table
Yeah.
from a CEO having a
It's
chat with him.
another business deal.
It was just a business deal,
Yeah.
exactly. So that didn't faze me, and I was very comfortable doing that. We did manage to get a lot of sponsorship, and Gems Education sponsored us, and Dubai Duty Free. They were headline sponsors. They were
Wow.
wonderful. Yeah. So the training, so that was part of the day, was going for meetings, but then training was 3 times a day, and it was on a rowing machine.
3 times a day.
No, just 1 time a day, building
Yeah.
up to this 2-hour shift system.
Yeah.
So you were, but as you said, you were constantly watching your stroke because we were set parameters by one coach based in the UK who was an ex-Olympic coach. He was
Yeah.
quite scary, and he was somebody that actually said, there is no excuses out on the ocean.
None.
And he was so right. It was like those words were ringing round in my head. And it was like, yeah, at the time it was frustrating listening to those words because it was just like, okay, that's not a motivation. That's not pushing me to try harder. But it
Building up for the reality. of
Yeah,
what's
it was
happening.
reality.
important.
so going back to reality, we did CrossFit as training as well, and I had some great coaches here in Dubai. I created my own little mini team in Dubai. You needed that support
Yeah.
network, right? So there was CrossFit that trained me with variety because you've got those waves hitting you from every
Yeah, so you
angle.
need like that functional training, just a bit of strength, conditioning.
Yes, and also the variety because
Yeah.
it's okay. You might get hit by a huge wave on this side and nothing on this side, and you're going to be all upset. You need to be able to adjust very quickly, and you need to be incredibly flexible with your approach to everything and
Yeah.
respond well to it. Got to the point where I'd do a 2-hour session CrossFit, and then the coach would be like, "Okay, now go outside and do a 10K run." I'd be like, "Okay." I'd be like, "I'm joking, but good to see your head is
But you
programmed
really
now."
did.
Like, deal with it.
Yeah, there was no option to give up.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing with the team. We made a pact with one another that we would not get off the boat, even if we had an injury or anything medical, because it would jeopardise getting world records if we had the
Yeah.
outside assistance. So that's when the team started to change a little. And our 6, one person wasn't able to continue. Maybe some of the work commitments had taken priority.
And the realities of what you've actually signed up to
course.
starts to really come
Yes.
through.
Massively.
Yeah. When you sign the disclaimer
Yeah.
and you talk about medical insurance and Medivac and being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean alone. Yeah, quite scary.
Yeah.
Anyways, you still continue to do it.
And that was the thing. Like, it was interesting because I'd meet people at the gym.
2 hours,
Yeah, we're going to get to this now. I just want to,
day and night, non-stop.
Yeah.
before you, 'cause I want,
The-
this is a big one. Can I ask you the question? How do you mentally prepare for this?
The
Did
training,
you?
the physical training that took
Gets you
place
mentally prepared.
prepared you, because it was no option. No matter how much pain you feel,
Got you.
no matter how fearful you are of what you're about to do next, and that unknown that somebody's just said you're going to go and do next,
Yeah. Pushing you to the
you
brink.
continue to do it. You
Yeah.
just walk, you just do, you continue to move, and
Army
you just.
style.
Yeah.
It is very much so. And I also think, I mean, I had one lady. She's still in Dubai. She was in her early stages of her career at the time, Melanie Oliver. I remember to this day. She was at the gym, and she does a lot of at the time, she did NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And I wasn't into that type of stuff. I like to do yoga, but I don't think I really understood the benefits to the level that I do maybe now. And it's a forever journey, and I still love delving into that. But she sat me down and she said, I need to go through some things with you, and it's all about programming your brain to actually visualize success. And she only sat with me for 10 minutes, but she really got me thinking about visualizing how that success looks like and what it would feel like reaching the other side with the girls. And it was just an amazing experience, because it really opened my mind to that side of thinking about how your brain is so powerful and your thought patterns. And I think I've been quite lucky to have quite a positive programming in my head. Don't know whether it was my upbringing or what, but I feel like that comes quite naturally to me, and it was just reinforced, just like you can do it if it's possible. Other people have shown that it's possible.
The only thing standing between you and what you want is yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, and your beliefs. Like, why do you think you can't do that? Like, it's possible.
I'm just really mindful of time, because we're going to be here
I know,
forever.
but-
And you've got to shoot off to another meeting, I think.
But
You're going to be
to
totally
get to
late
the
for
heart
that
of
one.
it, like to wrap up, take us through the experience on the water. People will want to know. You've
Can I
done
ask-
all this. You went on the water.
Before you get in the water, how did you feel when you stepped onto that boat
Yeah.
for the first time? You're like,
Ready to
this
go.
is the last time
Yeah,
I'm going to
really
see friends and
ready,
family.
really ready, but so nervous, like
Yeah.
so nervous. Like, I think a lot of people think that you're not human when you go and do something like this, that,
No,
you
you're
weren't
very human.
fearful.
No,
You
you must be terrified.
No, it's because you're very human that you're able to actually do it.
I love that
humans are
you can
incredible
see
machines.
that. And I
Yeah.
think that is what the experience has
Yeah.
done to me, is
Yeah.
made me feel emotions without fearing any of them. I
Yeah.
can sit still with my own thoughts. Nothing touches me anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not scared of doing anything. I can walk with that fear in me. I'm scared about doing stuff. Like, I have nerves,
Yeah.
because we're human, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think, oh, she's got so much confidence, she doesn't get nervous about anything. Like, nothing throws her, nothing
Everyone gets
phases her.
nervous for the same things.
Absolutely, right? And I just think the difference is, do you push through it and just go and do it anyway?
Yeah.
Or do you say, no, that's not for me, and I'm not doing that. That person's better at that. That's why they can do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the rawness of what this experience did to me was being able to sit comfortably with my own thoughts, for sure.
So the boat goes.
Yep.
What is that experience, as Lily mentioned?
No.
First 2 days adrenaline, like
Yeah.
super charged. Because the other thing is, I think the other thing is as well about stripping yourself literally. You've got no toilets, so you've got a bucket next to each other. So you've got these logistical issues.
Yeah.
And
Because I'm assuming it's like a narrowish
It's a
boat.
narrow- it's
You
really
have to
narrow.
climb over each other to get to where you need to be.
100%. Or you just move the bucket from one person to another person, because
but like
that's
kind of like
the
once you're
reality
in your
of.
seat, you're in your seat, and so you decide
And
to move.
your ankle has a leash on it, because
you.
if we
To be
do
able to pull.
Go over.
well, if we capsize and
Yeah.
you go over, then at least, I mean, I don't know why we chose ankles, because we dragged along in that direction, but you were attached to the boat at all times. So if you needed to maneuver from up and down, so me and Julia shared one cabin at the back. So if she was sleeping, I was rowing, then we'd switch over. And then the other three girls were in the bigger cabin at the front, which had the GPS and some of the food making equipment. And
That's the other thing. The added weight.
yeah, so we had dehydrated food. Yeah, exactly. So that was my job. I love maths. So we distributed all the food in the boat so
The
that it was
rations.
balanced. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
everything was dehydrated because you had
Yeah.
no fresh produce because...
We had some tinned peaches. We chose carefully. There was
Yeah.
a certain amount of weight that we were
Did you have a
allowed on there.
support boat?
No. So, well, there wasn't.
What?
Well, the thing is, there was this support boat that was there. So it's an organised race.
Okay.
17 boats departed at the same time.
Yep.
We were the only all-female crew that did it in this particular year.
How many boats finished?
A third of them. I can't remember the exact number,
Okay.
but I remember it being a third.
So roughly 4 or 5 or 6 of them didn't make it.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
So
it
did
was.
you were you close with the others? Like, could you
No,
all
that's
see
the
each
thing.
other?
So there was this yacht, this boat that was a support boat, but they did say that it would take 4 days to possibly reach us if we faced any difficulties, and we were aware of that. That was like something that was, we had all
you
these...
could be dead in 4 days.
I know, it was like really serious. So, I mean,
That's
we had
not
all
a
these...
support boat.
No, it was scary, like super
You're
scary.
That's not a support boat.
So as you're rowing,
But you don't
right,
see anyone.
I was gonna say, as you're rowing, you don't see anybody.
No. So
Just
we...
yourselves.
Yeah, so we departed a couple of days after the rest of the crew because we had a team of 6, and then unfortunately one of the ladies didn't end up coming with us. So we had to regroup and work out the different tasks between us all, like how we were going to work that out. So it turned out being 5, so we had to change the shift system, we had to change a lot of the responsibilities, but we needed 2 days on land to get that together. So all the other boats had gone, and it was amazing. There was one ex-military boat. They were all amputees, and they were doing it. They were incredible. That was so inspiring, because it was like, wow, you know, you're able-bodied and you're doing this, and you want to, you know, you think that you're nervous about it. I mean, look at them. That's just absolutely amazing.
How do you hold course?
You have a corridor, yeah. So we plot an area that we're willing to go
you had the give.
within. Yeah.
Because wind,
Yes.
waves. Like,
Yeah, so the end point was Barbados. At one point we were heading for New York, and we had to make a judgment call. Do we go with the wind that's literally blowing us up north, or do we try and fight it to help bring us back down a bit more south? And these were all judgment calls. You didn't know what you were doing, you know, you were making decisions, but you got no experience with any of this. It was just like, what feels the right thing to do? And you soon started to understand that, you know, these decisions were huge, and going against the wind wasn't an option, because it was just no. And Mother Nature's much bigger than you ever are going to be,
always
right?
go with the wind.
Absolutely. So
You
yeah,
started
it was.
pushing north.
Yeah, we did at the end manage to drop down south, and we were back on course again.
And
it was
but
fine,
The other
but
thing is the wind changes
all the time.
all the time.
It can push you backwards.
I really remember Julia coming off shift and getting into the bed, and I was hauling myself out of the bed onto the deck. And my wrists, I think, like everybody showed different weaknesses in their body.
Yeah.
My wrists were really painful. They were black and blue from inside. So when I got every shift, I had to haul myself out of the cabin. The only way out was to on your hands to pull yourself out, and the pain factor, it was just
That's
like
before you
that's
started
before you've even
2 hour
started
row.
rowing, yeah. And then if it's raining and you've got all your wet weather gear on, and you need to go to the toilet, and you've got to strip off and then, you know, you don't want to let the other girls down, so you don't want to occupy going to the toilet or doing any of those things whilst you're supposed to be on shift, because you're supposed to be rowing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like all these small things become so difficult to
What
do.
was it like at night?
Oh, the night time. So we had these beautiful flying fish that would go for 200 meters, and they'd be, I don't know, like a meter off the sea, and they'd look super shiny and gorgeous as they were flying through the daylight. At night time, they couldn't see where they were going, and you couldn't see them.
They were hitting the boat.
And you were naked most of the time because you were collecting all this sea salt in your clothes. So you had slippy, slimy things smacking you on the back. You couldn't see them. And your adrenaline shot to pieces already. You know, you're not feeling the best because you've got sleep deprivation, haven't you? So
Yeah,
you're
you're a bit
feeling
delusional
absolutely...
by now.
Your nervous system's wrecked. And you've got these things literally just hitting your skin from every direction. For me, that was the bit that tipped me over the edge. I remember thinking, oh, this is the worst.
Were you in a storm?
We were.
What was that like? I'm just thinking of like crazy crashing waves and rain.
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
like
So
the boat flipping.
On some nights where it was super dark and you didn't see the moon, you know, it was very cloudy. You could hear what felt like a train coming towards you, and it was just this. A wave would be building up and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and closer and closer and closer, and it was like it was in slow motion. You could just hear it, and you knew it reached its peak, and it was hovering over your head.
Yeah.
And there was like this moment of silence before it came crashing down on top of you. You'd get thrown off your seat. You'd be smashed into the side. We had bruised legs all the time because the oars would hit like your
of
shins,
course.
you know,
Injured.
right?
Horrible.
So, and the clearance, there was no
there's
clearance. And because of the waves hitting you in so many different directions, we were black and blue anyway. And we were sitting on these sheepskin rugs, and they were just supposed to be comfortable, but they collected so much salt water and horrible. And it was just, you just wanted like a fresh pair of cotton knickers. Do you know what I mean? Just to sit in, just something that was dry. Because that was the other thing.
How did you guys not flip?
Well, that was the other thing. I think, you know, everybody deals with things differently, right? And we'd got to know each other incredibly well, and we knew we'd been put under pressure. We'd had a lot of training together. We had met up in the UK and we'd done like sea survival courses and ocean theory courses, and it was hardcore. There were weak residential moments where it was like, this is hard, like working all this out.
Were you wearing life jackets?
Sometimes when it was really choppy, yeah, we'd get all of our gear on. It just added extra things.
But that's the thing, it would make it even harder to row.
No, we weren't in them much. I remember the foul weather gear even being awkward.
Yeah.
You know, like a big
bulky
jacket.
Yeah.
Can't really move.
Yeah, it was just hard work. Yeah, and just
Well, you know, normally
can I just
normally when
sorry.
you're rowing, you're wearing zoot suits.
you're super
which is
slimline, right?
Skin. It's
Yeah.
like
What
thickened skin.
time? What time of year was this?
So, end of November, beginning of December.
So you're heading into winter. Or were you
Yeah,
in
so
winter?
there was
sorry, in the
actually
Northern
there was
Hemisphere?
a storm, and we went with the trade winds. So there were trade winds afterwards, and we had to wait a little bit before they all calmed down. But it was taking us in the right direction. But there were moments where I remember Julia coming off shift and me getting out the cabin, and she said the speedometer thing's not working, and I was like, okay, great. Got on the seat, started rowing. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like we are rowing, but we're rowing to stand still. Like
you don't know where you're going,
the
like,
current
it's
is,
moving.
and that's why the speedo's not doing anything, because we're not picking up any pace. We're not doing anything. We're literally, if we weren't rowing, we'd be going in the wrong direction. Yeah, 100%. Then there were some days where the waves were so amazing, and we picked up like 12 knots, and we were surfing on them, so they weren't crashing on top of you.
Yeah.
They were picking you up, and you were just tapping the oars, and you were like flying. It was a wonderful experience. And the
Was there a
dolphins
moment
that
of
we saw.
hysteria?
Many,
Talk about
many.
yeah.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that I wanted to say. You know, we all had like different ways of responding and reacting under pressure. And I think I'm quite a contained person. I do a lot of internal processing. And I'm always quite thoughtful about people around me. And I'm probably more thoughtful towards others than
There's that EQ.
Right, exactly. It's there. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself, right, don't rock the boat.
Yeah, literally.
Unless it's going to have a positive impact on the rest of the team.
Yeah. Because you can't be dealing with friction and tension.
It's not going to solve anything, right? So someone's done something, a
you
little
gotta,
niggly
you gotta
thing.
survive this now.
Suck it up. Just deal with it. Yeah, absolutely. So I think I held a lot here. Because most of the girls were quite explosive in moments. So we saw all of ourselves even in some really ugly moments. You know, it was like, whoa, I really know myself. Like that's not something I'm particularly proud of, but wow, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I really know myself now. Like literally, when you're feeling the worst you could ever feel, you know how you're going to respond to it.
Yeah.
When I got off this particular expedition, I went into myself. I remember getting off the boat.
I was going to say before, because I'm going to ask you a question now. What was that feeling when you finally see land? You finally know this is about to conclude.
Like you did it.
That you've achieved it, or you're about to achieve it. You stand up, because I'm sure you got like sea legs by now.
Yes.
Like, what was that feeling of like finally stepping onto solid land?
I think seeing dry land was weird, first of all, because everything was very calm and flat. We pulled into the Bay of Barbados. First of all, we had to navigate through some really tricky waters, and everybody had said it's really difficult to get on the land, but once you enter the bay, it becomes easier. And I remember the girls saying, right, Katie, you need to stay in the cabin. And I was itching. I wanted to be out there. I did not want to be in the cabin. I wanted to be out on the deck. And I remember getting so emotional because I felt trapped. It was like, you want to be out on the deck doing what everyone else is doing, but there's only space for 3 people. So I had to shut myself in the cabin. And when you shut in the cabin, you've got to close the door, because if a wave comes and water gets in, and I remember being so emotional. Yeah, exactly. And I just remember thinking, oh gosh, we're there, but I can't see any of it. But the support crew we did see, and eventually we all I could hear everybody screaming and shouting out there, and it was just very, very emotional. I could hear my mum's voice, which was so loud. Yeah, wow. Some family members had managed to get there, and it was just so emotional. And I just think that sense of achievement, getting there, was just like so overwhelming. Really overwhelming.
What's the main emotion you remember?
Relief.
Yeah.
Because you were in moments where it was life and death, and that realization.
Insane.
Yeah, and I think, people ask me now, would you do it again? And I'm like, not knowing what I know now, absolutely not. And this is sort of 12 years on as well.
Yeah.
So, a bit of
Yeah.
wisdom there as
Yeah,
well.
what's gone on?
But I think these are the years to do these types of things, when you're young and you can take those risks, you've not got anything to lose, and it's like, just go and get on with it.
So you said that once you hit dry land, you found something out about yourself.
I think because I'd suppressed a lot of emotions and hadn't maybe expressed myself all of the time. There was a lot of media there because we gained 2 world records in the process, which was like an amazing achievement. And so
do they still stand now, or?
We were the first female crew of 5 ever to do it, because there were different numbers
Yeah.
that had done it. And then we were the fastest female at that time to cross.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think some Chinese girls managed to smash that a few years ago. I'm not really...
Still, you're in the record books.
And I wouldn't choose to go and do that again just to prove a point. We've had our experience. And for me, I didn't do it for that reason. It wasn't...
Did it for the charity, for the...
It was a personal development project, and amazing to be able to connect with this human trafficking industry that I knew absolutely nothing about. So it was a massive educational process.
Are you still connected to that now?
There was a few people here, like Dubai Foundation for Women and Children. Afra Al-Basti, she's amazing at what she does. She's a local lady that runs that here. We were actually put in the same category for the Emirates Woman of the Year Awards, and it just felt so wrong, because I felt like I should have been put in a category for extreme events. Do you know what I mean? Like, and she won, and I was so happy to see that. I've spoken at a couple of events alongside her, and I try to bring her into things, because I think, the community that we have
Should bring
is...
her on the podcast. Invite her.
Yeah, definitely. She's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, absolutely. No, she's a very interesting person, and the work she does is just incredible.
Nice.
I salute her. She's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So when I got back to dry land and all the media are there, and we've got, 2 world records, people are going crazy. And we did have a PR company in the UK because we wanted awareness for the charity. So we get there, we've got OK Magazine, we've got all these other crazy people that have arrived. It's completely new to me. They're getting us to jump off rocks. We've got sea legs. We're collapsing in heaps. It was
The
just
last thing you want to do.
It was a big mess. We were all in like so many different places in our own headspace. And the first few days were exciting and it was fun. But as soon as I had a moment to sit down, it was like, oh, I don't want to speak to anyone for a bit. Like, oh God, we've got another interview in half an hour. I don't know. I'm gonna have to pull myself together. I started to just go inward.
But did you suffer sort of like
PTSD?
I don't want to say depression, but after having done something that big as a team, and it's such a focus in your life, and then all of a sudden it's all gone, and you're like, oh, sort of back to reality. You fall.
Come down.
100%.
And I think there were two sides to this. One was that kind of like suppression of emotions whilst at sea,
then had to digest
and deal with. And I sit and reflect. I'm a thinker. I come out of my shell, and then I'm quite bold, but I do spend time, retreat, do my own thing.
Extrovert.
And exactly. And I don't know if you've come across my human design app.
Yes.
I'm a manifestor, and it just sits so comfortably with me. It's like, yes, this is so me. I sit, I think, I reflect, decide what I'm going to create, go out big and do it, and then come back in again. So getting to dry land, we had all these interviews, and I'm sat there, and there's one interview, and I'm going to have to dig it out one day because I literally couldn't speak. Like, they were asking questions, and luckily there was 5 of us to absorb it. But afterwards the girls were like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, because I couldn't even figure out what was wrong with myself, you know? Anyway, so I went back to London. The interviews continued. It was January. It was snowing. We had flip-flops on and denim shorts and T-shirts arriving to interviews. We literally got off the plane, went straight to another interview. And I started to feel more relaxed. I was like, no, I'm good with this. This is okay. Somebody was giving these tickets away for this motivational speech. And I was like, well, I've got nothing else to do. I'm in London. Let's just go. Best thing I could have done. This guy, and I can't even remember who it was, because it was like 6 different speakers, but this one guy resonated with me so much. And he basically said, we're all hose pipes and we're giving off this free-flowing water. And the more times we suppress emotions, we get a kink in that hose pipe. And eventually that'll lead to some form of a depression. Listening to his words, I thought, I don't want to be that person. I don't want kinks in my hose pipe. And he was saying, to be the biggest, boldest, best version of yourself, you need your hose pipe to be free-flowing. And that for me was the best everything I could have received at that point in time, because I knew I had to sit still with those feelings. I knew I had to do some journaling to get them out. I fathomed it all out, but I didn't have anybody to sit with to go through all of that, and I did that alone. And when I got back to Dubai, first of all I went to Portugal to stay at my parents. That's when I had a meltdown and I couldn't control myself. There was tears. And Dad, being ex-military, actually said, Kate, you've just been through life and death with a teammates, and you're not together anymore. Now it's hitting you. You're realising, what you've just been through. And I was like so grateful for those 2 bits of advice, because I just think it really helped me move forwards when I got back to Dubai. And from there, I just actively focus on my personal health and mental health on a day-to-day basis. It's part and parcel of what I do every morning. It's set your mindset up with some morning mantras, and just sitting still with my emotions. I'm so comfortable in doing it now, but it was sort of 10 years,
got your
12
own
years.
fashion brand.
Yeah.
Which is a
Something else
whole
to
other
do.
podcast.
We're not
We'll
going
talk
to
about that
go
one next
into all
time.
that, but the point is
I think, to
once-
be creative, as you know, as creatives, you need to be free flowing. You need to have no blocked emotions, and you need to be able to express yourself fully. And I think, if you're the type of person that does like to be maybe a bit more diplomatic, and you're not so expressive generally, or you're so conscious of the people around you, you've got to find other ways of managing yourself. And I think I have that balance now, and having to unlearn everything to do with kind of like routines and regiments. I really focused hard on unlearning everything to do with my banking days, to do with like my sporting achievements, because they were all very, very regimented. It was like discipline, which is wonderful. No one's going to take that away from me ever. I've got it. It's deep ingrained in me. But
Dan's got a final question.
No, I just thought that was a really nice way to end, actually.
It is a nice way to end, isn't it?
To like unlearn everything.
Unlearn everything to be able to learn what you really
That's exactly
want.
how it should be.
There you go.
Like I feel like I unlearn every day.
Thank you so
Oh my God,
much.
Katie.
that was such
That
a
was
long-winded
awesome.
story. I
No,
feel
it's
like we should
not.
have
No, it
broken
was
it down.
great.
I'm just so
great.
grateful I got here in time.
You did so well.
and before we segue again, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you
so much,
coming
Katie.
in.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Welcome to Rooted Within with Lili and Dan, a podcast that shines a spotlight on positive change makers sharing their stories of legacy, inspiration, and impact.